First off, thanks for joining us, Craig. It's another season as we get ready now for the 2011 season. Your second year as a head coach. What's the difference between last year getting the job and now having a full year to try and implement things, and with year two of the program here for the Jordan Hubman?
The most basic thing is that I've had a full year to implement all of the things that I foresee philosophically, practice, tempos, offense, defense. I mean, we made some minor tweaks last year going into it, but we had a summer basically to put it in play. Now I've had an opportunity to sit down with all of my coaches, and we've been able to revamp a lot of things. And even our motto is changing the way we do everything this year, and we are going to do that. We're going to change a lot of the ways that we practice, play, work on fundamentals and techniques. Just everything we do is going to be a little bit different.
And of course, tough year for the team last year. 1-7 overall, 1-6 in the MRC. Talk about what that was like. What type of learning experience last year was for you as a head coach?
Well, I just knew that there was a lot of work to do. We have to sit down and go all the way down through our ranks. We need to improve our off-season program. We need to improve the continuity from our youth all the way up. We have some great youth coaches and junior high coaches, but we just don't have any continuity all the way up. And so, it's going to be a time-consuming thing. It's going to take a little while, but we're going to look at improving the entire program. And I always talk about improving the program, not the team. And so, while we're going to work and focus to make the team better, we're going to focus a little bit harder to try to get the entire program up and running so that we can every year have something to push for conference and section type titles.
Yeah, everyone wants to be kind of like what LeSueur Henderson almost has year in and year out, a program that's there each and every year, isn't it? That's kind of the thing that you're always looking for, right?
Yeah, I think every coach is. It's just a matter of how you go about doing it, and I'm just a firm believer. We had a really good year in 2006, and when people look at that, they just think, there was a good group of athletes that came through, or smart kids, and those are both true statements. But I look back at Jim Trapp and some of the previous coaches that had sons in that class, coached them through the junior high. Their understanding of the game, their fundamentals were there. And so I'm a firm believer that if we can catch them when they're young and we can get them to come in the weight room and improve themselves individually, that we're going to see the same kind of thing that you look at with LeSueur.
And of course, this year now it's not a completely new conference, but one team out, Holy Family now gone, and Watertown Mayor into the conference. What's the prospects for the conference this season? Who do you think might be the favorite?
Well, Watertown comes in, and they've been playing in that Wright County, and while they haven't had very good records, that's just the cream of the crop for football in that conference. And so they're going to be fairly tough coming in. LeSueur every year always comes up with it. I think it's going to just be so hard to predict. Norwood made such big strides, and their off-season program is phenomenal. Sibley East really has some solid things going on with their off-season program. So it's up in the air. Flip a coin, and I think there's about 4 teams that really are going to be in the running and vying for those top spots. And then, nobody wants to have it, but a few of us are kind of in a quote-unquote rebuilding year where we need to change some things and get our program up and running.
And to get things into that position is kind of tough. Talk about one of the big changes that happened. Doesn't kick into effect this year, but the year after. Adding a 7th class in football, and of course the section you guys are in right now, a very tough section to begin with.
Oh yeah, it's a very tough section, and we have some bigger schools because of the free and reduced lunch that we have. That class that comes in, we stay as a 3A school, but we go to a different section, and it's a section of schools that are very similar size to us. And I wouldn't say it becomes an easier thing, but it certainly isn't the kind of teams that we see in our section going into this fall.
Yeah, and talk about some of those teams that you're going to see in the section this year for you guys.
Richfield, a really big school, 15 coaches for their crew. They're typically a 5A school. They've got that kind of talented group of kids to pull from. St. Paul Highland Park and Minneapolis Washburn, Holy Family, who we finally were able to get out of our conference, is right back into our sections, and they always present a really smart athletic team. We've got Waseca down south, and then Belle Plaine is in there with us. It's us and Belle Plaine representing our conference for this year.
So it's kind of a different section from, especially even if you go back to last year's section, a big change for you guys.
It is a big change. The upside is there's only 8 teams. We will be playing in the playoffs this year. Unfortunately, we missed that last year, but it's definitely a big change. And with the changing of the bigger class, is going to change again right away. Usually sections are for 2 years. We're going to be swapping out and playing in a whole new section again, and then we got to sit down and figure out where the sections are for the next year. So
I was going to say, how much does that just take time away from you guys trying to figure out what teams are in the section, and then all of a sudden, do you do some scouting during the season and stuff to that extent with those teams?
Typically our scouting takes place at the end of the year when we kind of have an idea of who we're going to play. We also have in our sections a film exchange that we're required to get a couple of films so we can sit down and plan for a team. But to be honest with you, we haven't even gotten the season started, and we're just like any coach is going to tell you, we're taking it one game at a time. We have to get ready for that first non-conference game against WEM. They're a tough team, and we can't be looking ahead down the road at sections. That just kind of has to fall into place, and we'll see what happens when we get there. We've got to take care of our first game, and then we got to take care of playing solid football in our conference.
And I was going to say, it's not like your non-conference schedule. That one game that you guys have for non-conference is a very tough team, Waterville, Alicia, Morristown, a consistent team that's in the top of the state.
And they're what I would consider a football town. They are good at basketball, and they're good at some of their other sports that they have, but they breathe and live for football down there. And they lost some people, but they're gonna come up with a good team again. They always do, and they're going to be a good test for us right off the beginning of the schedule. They're going to be a good, solid football team that we're going to have to play fundamentally very well to compete with.
Coach Craig Albers, thanks a lot for your time, and good luck this season.
All right, thank you.